Okay, we are back to the builder once again. Today I'll be putting strings on this, and one note is as I tighten up the strings and get them to pitch, in a perfect world, and I think it will happen, the bridge will go back to where it was, which is roughly about the thickness of a credit card off the body there. So right now it's slammed, but I will put a little block in there to help me stretch the strings, and we'll see that process too. I'm not putting different strings on it. I'm putting the same gauge, so it's not going to change where the bridge sits. And we'll go over some bridge technical stuff here in a little bit in a different section as we get this thing restrung so I can play it again, because I miss playing it. Okay, when stringing the guitar, first I'm going to be turning the camera, so it's going to be kind of shaky here and there. First, on the agenda, I like to do is to make sure that all my eyelets are pointing towards the, you don't have to use a screwdriver, I'm just doing this to illustrate. Make sure the eyelets are pointing towards the bridge-ish area. So turn them all so that they're lined up towards the bridge. Just makes it easier. If you want to pull the string, pull them straight through and then start the process of winding. So, yeah, don't need the screwdriver anymore. I think you get the idea. So just make sure I make sure they're all lined up towards the bridge so that I don't have an issue. If they're lined up this way, then you have to pull the string and go through this way, and it makes your measuring for how many wounds you want on it really kind of just a tough situation. So setting it up this way, making sure that everything's pointing the way it should be pointing for straight in a line. It makes it a lot easier to do your measuring. One important note is these days strings come in these plastic packages instead of the individual paper sleeves that they used to come in. I actually have a set of Fender strings that are actually corroded, but that's their Save the Earth thing. But the important note is that if you try to open it like this, a lot of times what you do is you shorten the distance here. They're tough to open, and you can actually kink the strings by trying to pull it open that way. And when you have kinked strings, you're going to have tuning problems. So the best way to do the opening is to use a pair of scissors, and you get them out, and they're all nice and round, no kinks, in a perfect world anyway. So they come in different sections. These are the B and the E. This is the G and the D, and this is the E and the A. So we are going to start off and set those aside with the E string, and that'll be first. What you do for this process, for this type of guitar, some of you will be pulling through the bridge this way, but this one obviously, pull it from behind, make sure you don't have any strings laying on your pad there to scratch up your finish. And I will pull this through. The 6th string zone on the bridge there. Make sure it's all the way through. And then set the guitar down. It may seem a little cumbersome to do it this way, one at a time, but for me it's easier, and if you can see that, which you probably can't, but pull it up tight. There's tension on it while I'm holding the whole string here and not letting it flop around, and I just kind of help it to bend over. And at this point we will change camera angles and get to the winding of it. Okay, another important, well, not important, but something I did for this video was I made little measuring devices for how far you pull the string through through the pegs. And so these three, this one is the E string, and well, the sixth string, let's just call it that because we have two E's on it, this string here. And what I ultimately want is roughly 2 wounds on this, and the reason for that is because the further I wind it down, the more angle it's going to put on it, and we don't want to mash up against the screw here because that'll cause tuning problems. So we really only need 2 wounds on that for this big of a string that's wound. Because normally what I do is there's just a kind of a rule of thumb. You pull the string through like that, your eyelet's in the right place, and you pull tension on it, make sure it's through its part on the nut there, and to get 2 wounds out of it, typically what I do is I just pinch it right about in there, right about almost to the third peg on this 6 in a line type headstock. But if you feel more comfortable, you can pull it taut and go roughly 1 5/8 from the peg, and then you push it back, keeping your pinch in the same place. Make sure that you hold it there. You can grab it on this side and then fold it up, and then start, whoops, no, I'm going the right way. I always do that. Keep your finger firmly against this side of the string to help it bend over. I know that string's hitting the camera there. And then what I do is I like to go under it first. So when I get to that position, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it any way you please. But I like to go under, so I have 1 wound on top of the eyelet, and the rest of them can be underneath. So don't worry about this here. The thicker the string, the harder it is to get to wrap nice and tight on there. So then I pull, I'm going to move the camera this way so you can see. I'm pulling tension so that I'm not putting a kink in it down here or anywhere. I'm just keeping some tension on it, and I am giving it a turn, and then I will fold this up so that my next wound goes underneath the dealio there. I might end up with a 3 on this. Make sure that we get this underneath that, or close to 3, maybe 2.5 wounds on it. And so now, as you can see, my eyelet right here, oops, I'm not even showing you, over here, my string is pinched between the 2 wounds there, which helps things. Yeah, I'm going to get almost 3 wounds out of this. And I don't bring it up to full tension before I get the rest of the strings on. I just get it taut so it's not flopping around too bad, so that I can go up to the proper pitch right away. And immediately, with every string, I cut the string off so that it's not in the way when I'm doing the next string. So there it is. I got 2 out of it, and that's plenty. I don't have too bad of an angle here, because if I go way down, then I'm going to start increasing my angle here. I don't want to do that personally. I want to have a nice shallow angle on there. So that one's good to go. Okay, now that I have one string on it, another thing that I like to do is put wedges in here to help to, I'm going to set this down this way. It's easier to work with this way. But I put the wedges in, I put one in, and I put the other one in to hold the bridge in place where it isn't going to move when I try to pull on the strings to stretch them. So it makes the stretching process a lot more efficient if you block your bridge from coming up. So you can stretch the strings without the bridge moving with your pulling on the strings to stretch them. And we'll go over that in a separate section, stretching the strings. For now, I'm going to get them on here and get them all up to a light tension. So now what we are doing is we're going to, and I still have my A string here that I'm going to set aside. I'm going to keep these over here because I'm not working with those yet. These 2 will go on next, and then probably the G. So careful when unwrapping these as well, if you can see that. Just got to unwrap them. Remember, these videos that I do are for people that are beginners at doing this kind of stuff. So if you're sitting there going, duh, then maybe this video isn't for you. But yeah, you just got to be careful. And then, of course, you keep your dealio so you can find the string, because when they get small like this, it's hard to figure out which ones are which. And this one, the high E, or the first string, if you will, is silver. So I'm going to put the B string up there with the A string. Whoa, 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 easy now. Dramamine. So, as you've seen before, I'm going to pull it through the hole on the bridge from the back here in the high E position. Now, you might be asking about where exactly how much do you pull through on the high E. And to get between 4 and 6 wraps on it, which is good for a high E, even the other, the B and the G as well, because the string is smaller, it'll have more of a tendency to pull through, unravel if you don't get enough wraps on it. 3 inches for me is the rule of thumb on that. Make sure that you're in the proper slot and on your string tree if your guitar is so equipped. But there's no where to, there's no landmark out here. So a lot of times I will measure this string to make sure that I'm in the right spot, but roughly 3 inches. And you push it back as we did in the with the other strings, and fold it up. And once again, you want to hold it here, and so that you're pushing on the back side of it to help the string bend around the peg there. And as usual with me, I'm going to go underneath. First try, first shot, y'all. If I can. And I am going to keep some tension on it. Okay. Once again, I'm pulling it up from the back side, about the middle of the guitar. Try to, you can wrap it underneath the string tree. It makes it a little easier to get it lined up where you want it. So now this string will go underneath the, where it comes to the eyelet there. Okay, I took the liberty of pulling the B string through the bridge and got it nice and tight up there in the fairing. Make sure it's not going to be an issue. Now I will put it through the hole and underneath the string tree, and we will check the length here through the deal and pull it nice and tight, and pinch it with this finger, holding the measuring device right there, and then run it back. That's where you want to bend it. Once again, see, I'm holding my finger up against it so that it bends as I turn it up against the peg. So you want to make sure it bends up against the peg, and it will settle if you don't get it perfectly up against there. But yeah. Okay. Now remember, I do the under over deal on here, and at this point, once you have it reversed like that, you can start pulling your tension at about the middle of the guitar. Get it back underneath its dealio there. Then you can, at this point, you can bend this up so that you're sure to go in the right position as you turn it. Let's go ahead and get this one on here, and I'll get it started and then probably fast forward the procedure here. Make sure it's on the string tree there, and then I'm going to go 1 7/8. it is. My A string has got its 2 wounds. So we got 2, 2, 3. I think I counted 5 here. Well, depending on which side you look at. Over here it's 5. On this side it's counting 4. So right where I want it. And this one's about 5, 6 including the top there. And this one's about 5. So they just look a little bit different because of the gauge of the string. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this string here, and we will bring it up to pitch and go through the stretching process next. Stay tuned. Okay, I thought that said G. Okay, we're pretty close at pitch, so here's the stretching deal. One thing, now I spent some time dressing these frets, using a steel wool to polish them. And what I've seen many people do is they'll pull the string up and they'll let it slap down, which completely defeats the process of dressing your frets. What it can do is put a little micro divot in it, which causes it, when you're bending or even just playing, to dig into that divot, and just like a pothole forms in a road. So it'll dig in and make a bigger and bigger divot in the fret wire. So I avoid that at all costs. So I'm going to stretch the low A first. Right now we're at pitch, as you've seen. No movement out of my bridge. So I'm fully pulling tension on the string. I'm not pulling too hard. Just pulling up on it. Oops. See, even that wasn't good. It slipped off my finger though. See how low it went? It went extremely flat. We're going to bring it back up to pitch. And we'll do it again. High E. And basically what you want to do, I'm not going to, oh, that's not bad. Do it again. What you want to do, and went low there, flat, is do this until you get, oops, until you get the staying pitch for each string. So, and this whole process of doing that, changing your own strings and such, if you're new to it, patience is very important, and if you don't get it right exactly the way you want it, or exactly the way you've seen me do it or anybody else do it, don't worry about it. It's not going to be the last set of strings you put on your guitar. You just practice and learn from your previous mistakes. If you do something that really is going to cause a issue with tuning, then you may want to see if you can get a single of that string. Okay. Now we're doing the B string. I'm not going to take you through all of them. Just enough to show you that how exactly to go about this process. But you can see how if I didn't block the bridge, it might not be as easy. I'll be fighting the bridge. As I pull this up, the bridge will tilt forward, not give it as much stretch. Then when I let it loose and tune it up, it's going to throw all the strings off. This way I can have all the strings stay relatively in pitch and get through them, through the stretching process, a lot quicker. So, with that, we will continue doing this. Okay, I have all the strings stretched out. I've removed the blocks out of the bridge and tuned it up to pitch. I have my float back in my bridge, and yeah, it's all good. ready to rock once again, except for I got to put the back on it. But first, I wanted to get some tremolo information in this video, but this video is just getting way too long. It's already too long. So, and I want to spend some time talking about the floating and the springs and the whole 9 yards with the bridge. When you have this type of vintage, what do you call it, fender style bridge. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and also a note before I go, I'll be putting all these measurements for each string in the comments in the description, so be sure and look out for those, so you will be able to put your strings on accurately.